right now, the Labour government continually keep reversing and rolling back on the things they agreed on and the changes they already agreed on to make in the country. Considering the backlash they've received from the working class people when it comes to the winter fuel allowance, and also the people on the right when it comes to the grooming gangs, seems like right now at the moment, the pressure is starting to finally alter the actions of the Labour government. And now you're starting to see, after continuous pressure from the Conservatives and also the Reform Party, the Labour government are finally starting to have an inquiry into the grooming gangs. But before we get into today's video, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you like the content, drop a like. Let's get into it.
Let's get the views of my panel. I don't know if anyone in the audience wants to make any points on this as well, but Adam, I'll start with you again. So we are waiting for confirmation as to whether or not they're going to deport these men. This is an easy win for the government. There's 4 Pakistani men there who were born in Pakistan. Get them gone, surely.
If they're not deported, then I believe there could be trouble on the streets of this country. It is a tinderbox out there. I'm a father of 2 girls. Stories like this infuriate me and anger me more than most. These monsters are disproportionately more likely to be involved in the sexual grooming and raping of children. Pakistani men are 4 to 5 times more likely.
I mean, absolutely. They should absolutely be deported. Every single one of them. Absolutely. They should all be deported. I think that's definitely a first statement to make.
To be involved in this. We have a serious problem in this country, and the only deterrent now is hard justice, and that hard justice needs to be imprisonment.
But we can't focus too much on the Pakistani grooming gangs, because obviously it still exists in every other part of the country as well. Trying to focus too much on one section of people isn't just bad and unfair to like the other people that you're probably trying to like demonize in terms of like what kind of people they are in terms of the Pakistani people. But it's unfair to also the victims, because they can also be people that have girls, young girls that can be victims to white grooming gangs, black grooming gangs, whatever race it is. So focuses too much on the Pakistani men obviously doesn't attend to other grooming gangs and the victims and the girls that can become victims to that. So obviously by doing that, you could be ignoring people that are probably victims. So you need to just focus on like what is it or what areas can it actually happen in, not too much on them be Pakistani or stuff like that. It's not fair to the victims.
For those that are born here, and deportation for those that weren't.
God, Adam, stop being so far right. Honestly, you really are. You're so far right. But that is what is going to be said.
This is the problem, right? No one is saying that people calling the Pakistani grooming gangs makes you far right. What people think is far right is believing and acting like the only grooming gangs that can exist in this country are Pakistani men. That's what makes you far right, because it seems to be that the only thing these people focus on are the Pakistani grooming gangs. That's what makes you far right. It does, because you only focus on certain race committing a very bad crime. But what about the other race? Like, are you gonna say white people don't commit that? Are you gonna say black people don't do that? Generally, it can happen amongst all races, but obviously you're focusing on this now, but no one is saying you wanting grooming gangs to be out of the country is far right. No one's stupid enough to say that, and you thinking that it will be stupid. Like, that is stupid.
I mean, that's the problem. And actually, this is all linked, because what we're seeing in Northern Ireland, what we saw in Southport, this is people who are wrong, by the way. Rioting is always wrong, but these are people who are absolutely sick to the back teeth of nothing being done. And look, fair play, because actually the detective superintendent in charge of this said that the force should have done more at the time, because these girls were dismissed. They were under the care of children's services in Rochdale as well, and weren't properly looked after. Just very quickly, I spoke to Maggie Oliver today.
Yep.
And
she's just for everyone, she's the
was the whistleblowing detective from Rochdale, who now has the Maggie Oliver Foundation. My God, she thinks the sun shines out of you because of the money you raised for her, which of course was amazing.
Well, it wasn't me, it was everyone. But
It was everyone. That's amazing. If I say your name, I'll get a diatribe of praise for you. But she is so crestfallen by all of this. And you know, there are 7 more trials to come
Right.
Which
Well, we'll have to wait
are
and see,
linked
obviously,
to
what-
all of
what's-
this.
yeah, what they've shot at.
I mean, this is why we get unrest. This is why
Right.
we end up with all of this.
Bill, do you think some of the things that Adam said there were a bit too far, or what do you reckon?
I very strongly welcome the guilty verdicts that have come out today. When you read some of the detail of this case, that 13-year-old girls in children's homes, and the officials knew they were going off with men in their 50s and 60s, and they didn't report it. It beggars belief, and it needs to be tackled. The fact that the government is bringing in changes to make it a criminal offence to cover up any report of child sexual abuse is hugely important. The review that you're referring to, is, as I understand it, is the Louise Casey review, an audit to uncover the scale of the grooming gangs and their ethnicity. Louise Casey takes no prisoners, and I think it is very likely that part of the outcome of that is going to be deportation, and the immigration white paper made it easier to deport.
But we've been trying to deport 2 other Rochdale grooming gang convicts for a while. We've got Adil Khan and Abdul Kwari Rao.
You see, this is the problem right here. The only people that fit into the guilty people that are committing these kind of crimes, there always seems to be like Asian men. It always seems to be Asian men, Pakistani. It always seems to be. It's like, shouldn't you objectively look at, okay, where is the grooming gangs happening? How can we stop it? For the benefits of the victim. If you care so much about these young girls, that should be the first thing you're focusing on. But it always seems to be, oh, we want to deport them. But obviously, everyone can say it. The agenda against people that are coming here from the small boats and all of this agenda, everything mixed together, obviously then leads to, okay, how can we make sure the very bit that we can actually get out of this country, we can actually get them out? Oh, you're committing a grooming gang crime? Like, everything is just messed together. Genuinely, you could just see it. It's the whole agenda against people that are from Pakistan and all these countries. Everything is meshed together, and then obviously they can easily make an argument to deport all these people.
Who we've been trying to deport for longer than 13 years. It's been absolutely, so there they are. We've been trying, and what they did was they realised that they were up for deportation, and between them and their crafty lawyers decided to shred their Pakistani passports, which means that technically if we deported them, we'd make them stateless. Well, I don't really think anyone cares about that. One of them works as a food delivery driver now in the local area. So if you order food, one of his victims orders food in that area, he might knock on her door and deliver it to her. It's mental. And if the government really is, Miriam, afraid of civil unrest, maybe they should care more about the actual problem.
Well, absolutely, and it's understandable how angry people are. I mean, it's just
Civil unrest. You call a riot just civil unrest. No, that's not civil unrest, okay? That's absolutely... Protest is a civil unrest, but riots is not a civil unrest, okay? That's just people being uncivil, okay? You can't just dust that under the bed of, oh yeah, well, that's just civil unrest. Absolutely is not.
just an astonishing case, and when you read the detail and you think about what actually was endured by those children for so many years, and the fact that because they were so vulnerable, they were in children's homes, they didn't have parents, they didn't have anyone to advocate them. Some of them didn't even realise that what was happening to them was out of the ordinary. They didn't report it. And of course, they would have been too afraid to do so anyway. I think it just begs so many questions about our society, not just the cowardice about covering up things in case they seem racist, but also how we can abandon this many children and have this attitude, well, if they've chosen that lifestyle, then we won't report it, which is just shocking. There's so many layers of wrong. But I think underneath it all, it does prove that culture matters. And if you're part of a culture that doesn't think
culture matters, genuinely culture matters, you think white people are not capable, or British people are not capable of forming a grooming gang that abuses and victimizes young girls, genuinely, is that what she's trying to apply here? Is that what she's trying to imply here? That other races are incapable of doing this? The delusion amongst these people is actually quite frightening. The idea that your culture has anything to do with whether or not you can commit a crime is absolutely stupid. Genuinely stupid. Because it isn't, okay? It isn't. Anyone is capable of committing any crime. Any race, any ethnicity, any background is capable of committing grooming gang crimes, okay? That's just the way it is, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with your background, your ethnicity, or culture. It doesn't.
white girls, for example, have any value, then are we surprised?
I think it's racist. I think what's racist here is the abuse. I think that's what it is.
These are actually
Yes, you're right. It's racist. Okay. No, wait, it's not racist. What? The problem here is the victims, yes, but focusing on just Pakistani men also doesn't pay attention to victims or young girls that could be victims in the grooming gangs to white men. That also is a problem. That also in itself is a problem. By focusing too much on the Pakistani grooming gangs, you leave out the people that are also in other backgrounds that are committing these kind of crimes as well. And then the victims have no way out. That also is a problem.
he should have been tried as hate crime.
Stats cannot be racist, and the reason that the Labour government do not want a full inquiry into this, let's be honest, is because the Labour Party are up to this in their necks. From councillors to politicians, Labour is rotten to the core with the grooming gang scandal.
Adam, that's a lie, it's smear and abuse.
Absolutely.
This Labour
What,
government-
Labour
Absolutely a lie.
councillors and that weren't involved in this bill, no?
You've had a say, let me have my say.
What, Labour councillors weren't involved in it, Bill,
this
no?
Labour government is gripping the problem.
Answer
and
me,
making
Bill.
Change. I'm answering.
Labour councillors weren't involved, no?
I'm answering you. This Labour government is gripping the problem and making change happen in a way the previous Conservative government did not.
They're blocking
Absolutely.
a national
Yes,
inquiry bill.
No, the thing is, right, this has been said. The reason why they blocked the initial national inquiry is because if they allowed another national inquiry, a national inquiry has already happened already. If they start another one, then the proposed plan to solve the grooming gang problems has to take a halt. It has to be stopped. You can't apply the solution to a problem if you're still figuring out the problem. If the government had already went into a national inquiry when they blocked it the first time, then the solutions they already had to be able to stop this, they would never be able to apply it. So the reason why they stopped and they didn't vote for a national inquiry is to make sure the plans that they've already had can go into effect. So you can actually start making young girls that are victims, make them much more safe and much more secure. They're not blocking it so they can save their asses. That's not what's happening at all. It's to make sure they can roll out the implemented plans that they already had, because there already was a national inquiry.
Keir Starmer, when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, and you listen to Andrew Norfolk, who's the Times journalist.
He failed at his job.
Can you let me make a point? Andrew Norfolk, who's recently died, the Times journalist who exposed the grooming gang scandal, credits Keir Starmer of recognising there was a major problem, changing the prosecutorial rules so that action should be taken.
So why was it still covered up? Why did it still go on, Bill? That is absolute nonsense. They're up to this in their neck.
We're 10 months in power, and we've ordered a complete audit of the scale of the problem.
And you've pushed back on a national inquiry.
Yeah, because a national inquiry would cost over £10 billion and take 10 years.
Money well spent.
Exactly. It would take another 10 years. Another national inquiry would take another 10 years. There was already one that took 6 to 7 years. Another national inquiry takes another 10 years. How can you actually expect them to do that? Then everything they figured out in the last national inquiry, it just gets put to the side, and then we're going to start another 10-year process.
Now,
Money well
Just
spent.
in this room, do people feel as though the Labour government is handling the issue of the Pakistani rape gangs well? No. Right. Okay.
Shock.
I must be far right again then, Bill, because all these people agree with me.
No one is saying anyone's far right, because just no one, okay? You're just using that to be able to make some sort of slick at the Labour government. No one is saying that. People are saying you're far right because the only focus when it comes to this kind of crime seems to be at the Pakistani men. You don't generally believe that people that are white or any other background or British people are capable of committing this kind of crime. That's why people are saying that you are far right. That's why they're saying you're racist, which reasonably you can conclude it. But that's just my thoughts on the video. If you like the video, drop a like. It will be massively appreciated. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe.